many, many wares.
All right. Welcome.
Good fortune to our friends.
I should be sleeping, so instead I'm naturally going to make a very impromptu but hopefully somewhat helpful guide for the horrific visions. So, uh, I'm going to assume that you've at least done the initial quests. If you haven't, you're going to notice that you die very quickly due to sanity loss. That's intended. You're not supposed to make it very far in the first one or two. Just make sure that you're doing all the quests and get to the point where you can start talking to this guy to unlock the Hourglass of Horrific Visions talent tree. So we're going to take a look at those first because they're very important and they're what are going to enable you to go a little further in the visions. Hopefully, a lot further eventually, if that's what if you're interested in this content. So, the horrific visions talents are somewhat time gated, although tomorrow should be, which is June. Well, technically today, June 3rd, 2025. This should be completely unlocked, and you shouldn't have any issues with that. Your only limitation at that point will be getting the mementos to buy the currency to unlock the talents. So, let's talk about these real quick. First one that everyone will get is the Orb Operation Manual. This is going to give you your sanity restoration orbs. You have 3 per vision. These are shared if you play in a party with other people, so just keep that in mind. If you use one and your friend uses one, you've now used 2 of them. So you're going to want to coordinate that. Generally, you want to be together when you use it so that you both can benefit from it. So yeah, just make sure that you are planning those properly. The next most important ones is going to be this middle row. So it's going to be Steeled Mind 1 through 4. These are what are going to give you resistance to the sanity drain effects in the vision. So the more of these you have, the slower your sanity goes down. This does not affect everything. It only affects the actual sanity drain in the visions. It's not going to affect the abilities the bosses do or that the mini bosses do that drain sanity. Those are not going to be affected by this at all. There is a somewhat hidden effect of Steeled Mind in the sense that it doesn't mention it here, but once you've unlocked a Steeled Mind, if you check it out in the tooltip, once you go in the vision, it does go into a little bit more detail. But that hidden effect is essentially that for each city, so the 2 cities, Orgrimmar and Stormwind, for each zone that you complete in that city, you get a stacking and permanent 10% additional sanity drain resistance. These are unique to that city, which means that if you've unlocked it in Orgrimmar, you have not unlocked it for Stormwind until you've completed every zone in Stormwind. So if you haven't done visions before, or maybe you just did one city, the next week you may notice that you are taking a lot more sanity damage in your first run. That's because you haven't finished the zone yet. So just go ahead and do all the side areas, kill the boss, and you'll get that built up. So what that means is that total, you're going to have 90% reduced sanity drain. This is going to make the sanity drain from the vision itself basically inconsequential. It's not going to matter at all. That being said, even at this point, before I even have the rest of this stuff unlocked, it's already pretty trivial. Generally, if you're going to die to sanity, it's going to be because you are not doing well at avoiding the sanity draining mechanics that the bosses do. Enough about that for now. The outside columns here, I essentially term them the solo column, which is the left side, and the party column, which is the right side. Eventually, you're going to be able to get all of them, so it doesn't matter. But if you are primarily playing by yourself, you're going to want to prioritize the left side, and that's because it's going to give you increased damage and reduced damage taken in the visions, and it does get reduced if you have party members with you. So that's why I call it the solo side. This is also where your cheat death is going to be. So once we get this final talent unlocked next week, we will basically have one cheat death per vision that will revive us and restore us to half of our sanity. The right side is just going to give you a stacking maximum sanity bonus. Excuse me. So, the more people you have, the more comfortable they're going to be with this because it is going to affect everybody. And then finally, down here, we have the... this was a default thing in BFA, but does not appear to be in the current version, where you could give up half of your sanity to resurrect somebody. That particular part doesn't seem to be a thing, but I'm assuming that that will be enabled once we get this talent unlocked, at least for the no sanity, the free res that you can see that you have from this talent. I don't know if that will enable being able to res and give sanity up for it, but I guess we'll just have to see. The final talent, which you can't see yet, is Gift of the Titans, which is a 20-second proc that happens approximately every minute. So when it expires, 1 minute from then, your next enemy killed should proc it. It's going to give you 60% haste, 60% movement speed, and you are immune to sanity loss during those 20 seconds. So this is just going to make the sanity drain from the areas even less important, and it could also enable you to kill bosses easily that you otherwise struggled with because of their sanity draining abilities. All right, so that's it for the talents. To unlock the talents, you will talk to this guy. He'll have a prompt here that'll say something like, I want to trade X amount of mementos for Echoes of N'Zoth. You repeat that until you have all of them purchased. As of tomorrow, you should be able to unlock all of them. So let's go ahead and head into the actual pre-room of the visions, and we'll talk about some stuff in there as well. Get my Discord not covering my entire screen here. Okay, so now we're in the antechamber here. Some important elements that we're going to talk about once Wrathion shuts his mouth.
Now all of Orgrimmar drinks the blood of N'Zoth, twisting the Horde into a frenzied war machine.
Yes, that's very nice, Wrathion. Good job, buddy. Okay, so obviously we have Wrathion. He's the guy you're going to talk to start the vision. You can also talk to him and say, show me the map of the visions to see what the map of the city actually looks like inside the vision, as well as getting some information regarding the madnesses that are active and how much sanity drain will happen in that area. It's important to note that the sanity drain mentioned is before the sanity drain resistance that you have. So, if we have a 12 sanity drain per second, and you have 90% sanity loss reduction, that's going to come out to be like 1.2 sanity per second instead, which just shows you how trivial the actual drain from the zones is going to be once we get all of this stuff maxed out. All right, so in each vision, there is one tainted area, which is always going to be the main area that you start in. It's also where the final boss is. There's going to be 2 corrupted areas, which are going to be kind of a middle ground as far as the sanity drain goes. And then finally the 2 lost areas, which are generally going to have the harder bosses that people struggle with. In Orgrimmar, people generally struggle with Rexar. We'll go over some strategies on what you can do to make him a little easier. Wisdom is the other lost area. There's really none of the bosses in there are particularly difficult, although one of them does have some mostly unavoidable sanity damage depending on your class and spec. So we'll talk about those more once we get there. In the ante room itself, when you first come in here, you're not going to see these altars. You won't see those until you've actually acquired your first mask. the first mask is always going to be the Mask of the Long Night. That is obtained by doing a full clear of either city. That means all 4 side zones plus killing the main boss. And that mask is going to, we're going to come back to the masks when what they do. But that will be the first mask you obtain, and then you are required to have a mask equipped in order to unlock all of the rest. You do have to do both cities in order to unlock all the masks. Most of them are in a Stormwind. So I believe it's like 3.5 in Stormwind and 2.5 in Orgrimmar, and then did I do that math right? 3, 5, 6. No, I didn't. I don't know. It's most of them are in Stormwind. Half, and there's one mask where half of it is in each city. Here we have our Bronze Hourglass. You can, after the quest, where it has you summon this person, Sorodormi, you do not ever want to use this again. And in fact, even in that particular quest, for that run, you can summon him, or her, I don't actually know. You could summon them and then go ahead and talk to the Hourglass again and say, I do not require assistance. The reason that you don't want them is because they provide all of the scaling that having a second person does, except they do not contribute nearly as much as an actual person will. So, I do not recommend using this. And specifically, if you are a DPS or a healer, you absolutely do not want to choose Protect Me. So a hidden scaling that is present inside of visions. I haven't specifically tested it with healing, so I'm going by the BFA scaling. But essentially, if you are a tank, or if there's a tank present in the vision, all the enemies are going to do a considerable amount of damage more, which is going to make it like if you have Sorodormi turn into a tank, you're not really going to be able to tank anything meaningful in that vision. So that's why you do not want to use that. However, tanks and healers both reduce the amount of health that the enemies have in the vision. Again, I haven't tested with a healer yet this time around, but tanks with a solo tank, the enemies are going to have approximately 2/3 of the normal amount of health. In BFA, at least, healers got half health. So, given the nature of healing specs and tank specs, doing less damage than a pure DPS, that's why you get that decreased health. Let's talk about the real important stuff here, which are the tributes. This is the least important tribute, which is Tribute of Clear Sight. Each of these tributes is going to have a bar that goes all the way up to 100%. Your level 1 is unlocked at 10%, level 2 at 40%, level 3 at 100%. For this particular one, you're going to end up spawning these chests that you can see here in the various areas of the vision. So the first one is going to unlock the chests, the ability to see the chests in the tainted area, the beginning area of the vision. The second level will unlock it for both corrupted areas, and the third tier will unlock it for the lost areas. All they contain are mementos, with the starting area ones giving you a pretty small amount. I think it's like 40 to 50, while the ones in the lost areas go up to about 220 per chest. And once you loot these, they will show up in your accumulated total over here on the right. Not super important, but if you are someone who likes a challenge, you can try to get all of the chests in one run, as well as completing the rest of the objective. For the tainted area, the starting area, there's going to always be 3 chest spawns, but there's, I think, a total of 5 possible spawn locations. In every other area, there are approximately 4 spawn locations, and you will have 2 chests in each zone. So if you've gotten 3 chests in the starting area and 2 in all the side zones, you've gotten all the chests for that particular vision. Coming over here to the experimental destabilization, this is just going to straight up increase your damage as long as you're above 50% sanity, and it will decrease your damage taken if you're below 50% sanity. Vision Hunter is going to give you a stacking, haste, and movement speed buff for killing enemies. Lasts about 60 seconds, so generally as long as you're chugging along, you'll be able to keep 5 stacks up pretty much the entire time for a total, with rank 3, a total of 15% haste and movement speed. And then lastly, but most importantly, Elite Extermination. This is what's going to make Visions feel more comfortable. So I highly recommend, like, you know, if you're looking to do 5 mask runs or 8 mask runs, you need to level this to at least level 2 for it to not feel horrible. The reason for that is because with this tribute unlocked at rank 3, you're going to get 150 sanity for every elite that you kill. That includes the mini bosses and the end bosses of each zone. So, pretty huge. Next thing we'll talk about is the masks. So we already briefly touched on Mask of the Long Night, but we didn't say what it does. What Mask of the Long Night does is it cuts your sanity bar in half. Now, this mask is actually not bad. It can definitely be a challenge if you're doing 8 mask runs, but if you're just doing 5 masks, especially at this point where we've had both cities and we have a variety of masks to choose from, this is basically nothing. If you have no talents, obviously it's going to be worse, but with the talents that even I have right now, sanity is not a concern for me. So, yeah. Long Night is more of a mind game than an actual difficulty adjustment, in my opinion. That being said, when you're first unlocking all your masks, you want to use Long Night to unlock a different mask, and then use the other mask to unlock the rest. Because you have to have a mask equipped, but I definitely wouldn't add the stress of the half sanity bar when you're just trying to grab your masks. Altar of Vengeance functions similar to the latest version of the Bolstering Mythic Plus affix. It does not increase the mob's health, but it does add a stacking 15% damage done effect to mobs when you kill mobs next to them. So just keep that in mind. If you are someone that likes to do big pulls, this is going to make stuff start hitting pretty hard. Daredevil is going to make this was actually made worse in this version. Back in BFA, it only tripled the amount of sanity damage that bosses do. For this version, it actually makes it 5 times as strong. So what does that mean? Well, if something does 30 sanity damage without this mask, it's going to do 150 sanity damage with it. This mask is what makes 8 masking hard. It's not any of these others. It's this mask right here. Because realistically, and something that people over focus on when they're trying to 8 mask is they feel like they need to go very quickly. You do not have to go quickly. It is a marathon, not a race. Or a marathon, not a sprint. So, you can take your time. You can check out my 8 mask on my YouTube channel. It's the same username as my Twitch. I think it took like 30 minutes for me to do that vision. Like, you can spend forever in a vision. It's this mask right here that's going to get you killed. Dark Imagination is basically a nothing mask. When you are below 50% sanity, you have the chance to essentially proc an ad spawning. It is a normal, non-elite ad. It's super chill. Can get you stuck in combat sometimes, I guess, but it's not hard to kill or anything like that, so not a big deal. And once you get familiar with visions and start doing them a lot, you don't drop below half sanity very often. Altar of Multitudes. This is like the teaming Mythic Plus affix on steroids. This is going to... I haven't exactly calculated it, but I would say it probably triples or quadruples the number of enemies in the vision. So the combo of this with Vengeance can be pretty spicy, especially if you are someone who, in the days of BFA where you're doing these gigantic pulls to get your 5 masks done just, you know, a little faster. That's going to be pretty spicy with Multitudes plus Vengeance, because now all those final mobs are going to be a lot stronger. Altar of the Pained. This one, it's the madnesses in the zones are definitely not something that are super enjoyable, but once you get the hang of them, they shouldn't be that bad either. But this is going to make you have 2 different madnesses in each zone instead of 1. Altar of the Nemesis. This is probably the only mask I would say is honestly just a straight up positive. The only negative part of this mask is that the mob that it spawns does have a stun that it does periodically that you cannot avoid. So what this is going to do is that every 25 kills, and you can see it'll have a counter here at the top of the screen. This is not an add-on showing me this. I think it's modifying the text, but this should be there for you regardless. When that hits 0, if you're in Orgrimmar, Gammon will spawn. If you're in Stormwind, Hogger will spawn, and they are going to just be a random elite mob that comes in. And the great part is that killing this gives you sanity from elite extermination. So that makes this pretty much a straight positive. And then last but not least, we have Burn Bridge. If you are someone who can't stand still, this is going to be your worst mask. If you're able to control your, you know, spastic strafing back and forth kind of stuff, you'll be fine. This is going to spawn void zones underneath your character as you move. And so if you move a lot, you're going to create tons of space denial, and standing in the void zones will deal 30 sanity damage every couple of seconds so that you're standing in it. So don't stand in them. All right, so we've covered everything in here. We're going to go ahead and go in. Right now I have 5 masks on. Now, the reason that I'm going to go in with 5 masks on is because first, I want to show you that I'm not in a hurry. I'm just going to do 1 pack at a time. I'm going to just be chill, okay? So this is just to show you that you do not have to rush to be able to get through a vision. Excuse me. So the 5 masks that I'm going to use are Burn Bridge, Dark Imagination, Mask of the Long Night, Mask of the Pained, and Mask of the Nemesis. If you really don't like Long Night and it really has you worrying and stuff, you can switch that out. So the only one that I would recommend you don't use is Mask of the Daredevil, because that's just adding 8 mask difficulty to a 5 mask. It's not necessary. But most people, I imagine, would want to just run Vengeance as their 5th mask instead of Long Night. All right, let's go ahead and head in, and we'll start talking about some of the stuff in the actual vision. Excuse me. All right, here we are in Orgrimmar. So, see some mobs. You can see the main building is blocked off right now with these pretty menacing looking guards in the front. Not a big deal. Probably the mobs that are the most important to watch out for in this starting area are these shaman. They don't always get the totem off, but if they do spawn a totem, every time it finishes its cast, it's going to yank you to that totem, which can really be aggravating. When we look at the map here, my suggested route for Orgrimmar is that you're going to go to the Drag, then to Valley of Honor. You're going to teleport back, which will take you here, and then you're going to go to Wisdom, and then finally Spirits, and come back here to the main area. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just, we're going to, like I said, we're not going to do anything crazy. We're going to keep this nice and mild, so you can see that you do not have to rush. All right, I'm gonna go right here. Now, normally I wouldn't be pulling this right now, but I do want to show you guys how to utilize the potions effectively, if that's something that you feel you need. So in Orgrimmar, inside this house, there is a dead alchemist trainer, and there's another body over here that's got a potion next to it. This is the quote-unquote bad potion. If you drink a red potion, in this case, because it's red, it's going to take off 100 sanity from your bar, and you don't want that. So what we're going to do, and you can use a weak aura, or there's a chart on the Wowhead guide that you can use instead if you prefer. But, so in this case, I have a weak aura. I'm just going to click red. That's going to say that's the poison. And then it's going to show you what all the other potions do. The only potion that matters is the plus 100 sanity potion. The rest, while they sound great, they are very, very mid. Their effects are not meaningful whatsoever. And if you do not realize that they're about to expire, when they expire, they all have a negative effect that can get you killed. Either by making you stop whatever you're doing and start throwing up. One of them makes you like run forward uncontrollably for a bit. So I just don't think it's worth it. Now, if you drink a second potion, it does jack the duration all the way to 15 minutes, which is enough for most visions, but it's just not worth it. So you just keep an eye out for the plus 100 sanity potion, and you'll be good to go. Now, both in Stormwind and Orgrimmar, you're going to have these two main people that guard the final boss. They both have a relatively annoying thing that they use at half health, which is, in this case, they have a horrifying shout. You cannot immune this with fear immunes because it's not technically a fear, it's a horrify effect. So just keep that in mind. Generally, I stun the one that I'm focused on, and I kick the other one so that it doesn't recast. So you can see here, I'm at like half sanity right now. Not worried at all. Okay, now we're going into our first corrupted area. So sanity drain's a little faster, but pretty trivial anyway. So you can see this is the ad that spawns from the Dark Imagination mask. So since I'm below half sanity, he made an appearance. And here's our first mini-boss. Now in this area, we have two Madness's active Scorched Feet, which you can see I'm on fire right now. Generally within the next couple of steps, you're going to yeet yourself like this and leave a fire puddle. The fire puddle itself does damage, but it does not hurt your sanity. The other one, Entomophobia, is going to put these like bugs on your screen while you're in combat. And you're going to want to jump to remove them at least every few seconds. If you get to 5, it's going to give you a haste buff and make you run uncontrollably for a few seconds. This guy is actually super easy. You pull him, you stand right here in the middle. Make sure not to move too much when you're setting up, or you're going to spawn your void zones underneath him. But if you stand right here in the middle of his hitbox, none of his mechanics do anything to you. Make sure after you kill him to speak to Garona here, otherwise you can't progress through the zone. I mean, you can kill the enemies, but you can't actually progress the RP. These Dominators are by far the most dangerous enemies in here. They have a cast called Touch of the Abyss that if that goes off, it's going to stun you for a solid 5 seconds, and that's going to be really bad. So here's our first Gammon. So we've hit our 25 count. You can see he has a War Stomp that he's stunned me with. He does hit pretty hard. I'm a tank, so it's really not a big deal, but if you're playing a DPS spec, you know, definitely don't want to fight him for too long if you can help it.
See if there's anyone here.
So we're going to move through. We're going to click our stuff.
Let's move along.
There is some side stuff that some of you who are a little bit more experienced might be wondering, why isn't he talking about that? I will. I'm just going to do it in a run on its own. I'll probably just come in on like a 0 mask or something. Just to be able to show them a little bit better instead of trying to do it as I go. This guy's super annoying because I have to stop and you have to kill him to activate the next RP step, unfortunately. You can't just open the door and run away either because the NPCs will start fighting him and keep him over there. So we're killing this guy. So the key to most of the madnesses is don't move unless you have to. So you know, like burn bridge, as long as I'm not moving, it's not doing anything.
Around those explosives.
Oh, by the way, if you see if a blue potion happens to appear, so like you can see there's a blue potion here, I'm not going to take it because I want you to see you do not need potions to be able to do this. Alright, so this guy, the intended counterplay is that you get a little bit of distance when he does his Void Torrent and you just run in a circle to avoid his projectiles. If you get hit by Void Torrent in an 8 mask, you're dead. Like, you are 100% dead because it will stun you and it will continue to tick on you for a massive amount of sanity damage. So the best way to counter it, and what works best for most people, is that you can pull him over here by this tree stump, and when he casts his Void Torrent, you just move to the other side of the tree stump. It completely line of sights and prevents those from coming through, and you can just avoid it that way. He is going to do, I believe it is at 70 and 40%. He will do a Cries of the Void where he shields himself. If you don't break that shield, you are going to take a guaranteed 90 sanity damage. This shouldn't really be a concern. I'm actually going to use an orb going into this guy just, you know, because I can. You shouldn't need an orb for a 5 mask once you become comfortable, though. So generally, especially if you're doing an 8 mask, unless you're a DPS, you may not break the shield. Not a big deal. You should plan to at least take 1 hit of the Cries of the Void, in my opinion. Now, if you want to be a real pro, you can counter the Void Torrent a different way, which I'll try to show you in this particular encounter. So let's go ahead and get our sanity back up. You can see I'm going to have 2 remaining. This is going to generate approximately 10% of your sanity, I believe it is, per tick. But if you are in combat with something, it will be cut in half, so keep that in mind. Alright, so I'm going to wait for my next Scorched Feet proc to happen, because I like to not have to worry about that going in. So I'm going to wait till I catch on fire. Come on. There we go. Okay, just go ahead and I just want to trigger this jump so it's not happening in the middle of the thing. So we're going to stand here at first, but he's going to do that right here. So we're just going to do the same thing we did for that first guy. We're going to just stand right here in the middle. Make sure you're not jumping or anything weird. Here's his shield, which we might actually break it. Okay. And we actually got a really nice spell queue because he actually cast another torrent before doing Cries of the Void again. But you can see now, right back to full because of Elite Extermination. These totems will take you back to the beginning of the map, about right here. You should only be using 1 of these per run, which is after this next area. So this is going to be our first lost area. So you can see our 2 madnesses are Haunting Shadows and Split Personality. Haunting Shadows will put a circle around you periodically that if you stand in will get you feared eventually. The other one, which we'll probably see on the way to this first mini-boss, we generally do anyway. Any day now. There you go. So you'll see the screen starts to get kind of weird, and then it's going to spawn these clones. If you walk into one, you're going to get disoriented for a couple seconds. You can either walk through them like I did, or the intended counter is that there's an open gap in the circle that you can go through. Misha's pretty chill. She's going to do this Desperate Retching, which I'm going to reflect. If it does go off, you just periodically drop a puddle under yourself of like poison stuff, and you don't want to stand in that because you'll take sanity damage. And then the other thing she'll do is the big circle that she put around herself a second ago. So here's Desperate Retching again, so you can see it here. I have this disease on me. It does stay on you for a few seconds after you've killed her sometimes, so just keep that in mind. She'll spawn these scarabs when they end. This is easily the most dangerous zone in the entire vision, especially if you have the Multitudes mask on, because every one of these enemies is going to have a way to apply this Akiri Mind Toxin to you, which is going to do a dot, and then when you hit 5 stacks, it's going to stun you for 3 seconds. Now, with that in mind, the most dangerous enemies in here are not these giant bugs. the most dangerous enemies in here are these swarm leaders right here, because they give a 50% haste buff to every other Akir in range, which means that poison is going to stack up way faster. It's not the end of the world if you get stunned. You see, I got stunned right there. Not a big deal. But you definitely don't want to be getting chain stunned, so you definitely want to control pull size as much as you can in this area, especially with the Multitude's Mask active. So I'm just kind of conserving my CDs here, since I'm going to be fighting that big old mini boss behind me. Okay, so we got 150 sanity there. I'm going to wait for split personality to happen. Get out there, and then go in here. So he's going to do a breath attack like that, which will give you 1 stack of the Akiri Toxin. And then he's going to do this volley. Usually he'll do the breath very soon after the volley, just like that. If you get 5 stacks of the Mind Toxin while you're fighting him, he will do a headbutt attack that will knock you way back. And it will do 90 sanity damage to you. So ideally, you want to make sure that you're avoiding that breath attack and not standing in any of his other nonsense. Alright, now, Rexxar. What most people think is the worst boss in here is not actually bad. So Rexxar, he has these 4 pets that are in his little cubby holes back here. Each of those pets, when it spawns initially, will charge you and knock you back just a tiny bit. Not enough to panic about, generally, as long as you're not positioned badly. And they are also going to be casting Void Quill on you, which will do sanity damage to you. You can kick it. You can CC them. They're fully CCable. They're just regular beasts, despite their appearance. He's also going to put 3 traps on the ground. If you step in one of those traps, and you have the Long Night Mask on and Daredevil, you die. That's it. They do 600 sanity damage with Daredevil on. So definitely don't stand in them. Now, the adds are generally what people consider to be the difficulty here. But if you know how they work, they're not as bad. So when you bring... So the first add will come out when Rexxar hits 80%. The second add will come out when he hits 70. And the last 2 come out when he hits, I believe, 50. So the best way to do this, if you're not able to burst him really fast and have at least some sort of AoE control on the adds, is to slow roll him till the first 2 have been taken care of, and then just start bursting him. So that's what I'm going to show you here. So I'm going to charge in. Just going to kind of slow roll here. Make sure we dodge the puddle. Okay, here comes our first one. So see, just a little tiny one. We'll kick that. Kill our pet here. Here's the second one. Okay. Make sure we don't stand in the trap. You can see it there. Gonna reflect that cast. And then now we're gonna just burst him. Now another reason to kill him fast here is because this is when he also will start doing his stampede, which sends a bunch of critters going across the room. And if you take a hit from those, that's gonna be a lot of sanity damage as well. So this is the only time we're going to use the totem to go back. Your sanity loss is paused while you're flying, so don't worry about that. You can see here, my sanity's not going down while I'm flying back. Okay. I'll go ahead and kill this guy, I guess. That's funny, you can't even see me in here. Okay. Mounts up here. Gonna go around this trash. Don't want to kill anything we don't have to, right? I'll sneak in through here. Kill these guys. So the next area coming up is technically another corrupted area, but we're not actually going to go into the corrupted area at first. We're going to go to the lost area first. So we come up here. Open this. Very important that you kill these void elementals. If you don't, then you do not start you can't properly start the corrupted area when we get there. This guy is going to do a Surging Fist, which will knock you back. It's like a charge knockback. That does not do sanity damage, but he will always follow it up with the Decimator cast, And that is going to be a projectile that he shoots out at you, like that, and then it comes back to him in the same direction. That will do a lot of sanity damage to you. Okay. So now we're gonna. So instead of going there to the corrupted area, we're gonna come down here. Now this zone is a little bit unique. It's the only zone that requires you to fill a progress bar like this. So you do have to kill most of the enemies in this zone. I will show you what you don't have to kill and what you honestly should avoid to not do that, which is this pack down here, because this has 2 dominators, which, remember, they do the touch of the abyss cast that will stun you for a very long time if it manages to go off. So that is the one that you want to skip. But you will have to kill every other pole in this particular area. Oh, got myself disoriented. Okay. So fun fact, a lot of people hate these tentacles. If you're able to, if you stay in melee range of them, they will not burrow. So if they're really aggravating you, you're going to try to stay in melee range. But generally, there's nothing super dangerous about them. Like, they knock you up, and they slow you, so they can be bad in combination with other things. But on their own, it's fine. All right. This guy is, for some at least, the only source of unavoidable sanity damage in Orgrimmar. The reason for that is because he has a mechanic where he will throw you, and when you land after the throw, you take 30 sanity damage, or 150 if you're doing the Daredevil mask. So, generally, just like the end of the drag, you kind of want to just plan for it. However, there is a cheese method, which I'm going to show you. His other 2 mechanics, one is after he throws you, he will leap at you, which will do further sanity damage if you stay in that swirl, but you can avoid that one. And then his last mechanic is a howl, and honestly, I don't really know what that does. I think it just does damage, but it doesn't do sanity damage, which is the important thing. So, now, what you could do is just drop an orb if you wanted to, but I'll go ahead and show you the cheese method, so you can see that. I'm going to go ahead and use an orb here. And then I will show you. Alright, so if we charge in, and then we tuck ourselves underneath this obelisk nice and tight, then you can see that he did not do the throw. He went right into the leap afterward. So there's his howl that I was talking about. I might get thrown here anyway because I didn't kill him fast enough, but that's okay. No, I didn't. Okay. But yeah, so if you tuck yourself right up against that point there, he will not throw you. And then you just need to make sure you move out of the subsequent leap. Still got some more mobs to kill. We're going to come down here. Make sure we kill this Dominator first. There's that touch of the Abyss cast I was talking about. Definitely want to make sure you kick that or somehow stop it. One mob that I haven't really mentioned too much about, but I guess I should. And you saw a couple in that last pack, which are they're like mind. I can't remember the name of them at this point. They're mind something, but they do have an ability that stacks up on them over time, and if it hits max, it will fear you for a few seconds. They will basically never live long enough to actually fear you, though. So, all right, this guy is going to do 2 mechanics. One is this Sanguine Residue, which leaves a pool, and then he's going to do a frontal, which we'll see in a second. This one's really bad because it goes off very quickly, so you need to move out of it as quickly as you can and make sure that you're not standing in that. Alright, so you can see now we've completed our progress bar. And now we can see the final big bad is going to be walking down this path right here. I would recommend waiting until he gets around here before you pull him, just to minimize your chances of pulling over here. It's going to look like there's a lot going on in this guy, but I promise it's not bad. Okay, so the first thing he does, generally, is this frontal. Do not get hit by that. You'll get stunned and take a lot of sanity damage. But it's just a nice small sidestep, and then stop. If you are melee, you don't have to worry about that mechanic. That's just going to stun you if you get hit by it. Ranged have to worry about it more, since they generally are standing outside of the ring. Okay. So it's just step and move. Like, you sidestep the mechanic, you stop. As long as you don't over move, that guy will not give you any problems.
And nothing I do will ever bring them back.
Okay, now instead of taking the totem, it's faster to just go ahead and run back to the final corrupted area. So in this area, there are 4 totems that you have to activate in order. So you can see one is right here. Okay, so we're going to do that. And since this is corrupted, we again have Scorched Feet and Entomophobia. These big guys do a Void Buffet cast, which is going to increase the damage you take from Shadow, which is basically what all of these guys do with their attacks. So if you are feeling particularly squishy, I would definitely make sure you kick that. Okay. Moving up here. Now you can skip these 2 big guys if you hug this wall over here. I'm gonna go ahead and kill them just for security's sake. I usually don't though. I'm just doing it for you guys. So again, this guy will have Void Buffet, but since it's just those 2, the only shadow damage that you would take is if you stood in a swirl. So really not that big of a deal. Now this guy, he has 2 mechanics. One is that he's going to spawn a bunch of waves. If the waves hit you, they will stun you and do sanity damage. And then he will periodically, I believe it's health percent based, but I don't remember the percentages. He's going to cast a spell called Hopelessness. And that Hopelessness is going to both pacify you, which means you cannot cast anything, even if you're a melee, and drop an orb that if you pick it up, it will remove that pacification. So we'll go ahead and get into him so we can see what it looks like. So here's Hopelessness. Okay. Go ahead and pick up my orb here. Watch out for the waves. Now the important thing here is just to make sure that you're monitoring if you're on fire or not. Because if you are, that means you're probably going to jump. So make sure you don't accidentally jump into a wave. And you can see I forgot to jump for my entomology and ended up getting the auto run. But not a big deal. Pretty chill. Now that's it. Now we're on to Thrall. Now the important thing to know for the final bosses of these areas is that for each area you kill, for each area you clear before you kill the final boss, they are going to gain one of those, one of the abilities from those bosses that you've killed. So in Thrall's case, the thing you can see that he gains from Rexxar should be pretty obvious because he has pets with him. Normally he does not. These are exactly the same as Rexxar's pets. They just don't have names. Since we killed Rexxar, he has the pets. From the drag, he gets that Cries of the Void shield that will do sanity damage if you can't break it. And it is incredibly unlikely you'll be able to break it as Thrall. And honestly, I would just let it happen. I wouldn't even try to break it. Your damage is better spent outside of the shield. Otherwise, it's just wasted. So I would just plan to take the 90 sanity damage. From the Valley of Wisdom, he will get the Defiled Ground, which is that frontal that can stun you. And then from Valley of Spirits, he does gain the Hopelessness ability that makes you have to pick up the orb to continue fighting. He also has his own mechanics, one of which is, I believe it's called Surging Power or something like that. He will leap to the middle of the room, and then he will either make this inner ring covered in void, or he will make what's out of that ring covered in void, and then it will swap. So just make sure to not be standing where that is. The Defiled Ground that he does is going to leave a lingering puddles on the ground. These do more sanity damage than your general Burn Bridge, these void zones here. So keep that in mind. And yeah, other than that, I'm going to go ahead and drop an orb just because I can. 220 is probably a little lower than I would want to go into fighting him, just in case I make a mistake anyway. But so you can see we've used all our orbs, but I've not hurried through this entire thing. Now I'm actually going to just pull him, and his pets will run to you. They don't have a lot of health, so don't worry about it. So you can see I just sidestepped that frontal. Here's the Surging Darkness, so he's got the inside cleared, so we don't want to be there. Now we can go to the inside. Now that that's clear, here's Hopelessness coming out now, so we're going to want to pick up our orb. Stand in Promised Power if you remember to, but I rarely do. I actually didn't cover the madnesses in the starting area, I'm realizing. So Promising Power puts these puddles on the ground. You actually have minus 10% damage done right now. And then if you stand in the puddle, it gets rid of the minus 10 and gives you a plus 25. So good to stand in it if you can, but it's not necessary. Okay, Defiled Ground. He's probably going to leap here in a second. Yep, there he goes. Okay, so inside we're clear. Next we're going to have to move outside. Make sure that during the transitions, you're always watching for when he's going to cast Defiled Ground. You want to give him a little bit of extra room on the Defiled Ground too. It can have kind of a I can't believe that hit me kind of hitbox sometimes. So just give him a little bit of extra room there. So there's Defiled Ground. He tried to send it out and catch us off guard, but we didn't let him. And that's all there is to it. He's dead. The other madness, desynchronized, just cycles between making things 30% faster or 30% slower, which is largely just kind of a whatever. When you finish everything, you will have a chest out here for each zone you complete. The middle chest will be small or large, depending on how you did. So here's our side chests here. You can get all kinds of stuff. There's pets. There's these started dropping because I had a friend with me that was a jewel crafter. So I'm sure those are just going to annoy me now at this point because I am not a jewel crafter. So we got pets here. You're going to get mementos from each of those. And then finally from the main chest. So since I have already done a 5 mask this week, several 5 masks actually, all I get from that is 3 Gilded Crests, but it is a repeatable source, and once you get the hang of it, a very easy source of Gilded Crests, just not particularly time efficient. For your first 5 mask and your first 4 mask of the week, or if you just do 2 5 masks, that'll do the same thing. You do get hero pieces from it, so just to keep that in mind. Alright, so we're going to head out now that we finished looting. I'm going to do a quick call out here to the vendors right here. These guys will sell weapons. This one sells veteran, this one sells champion, this one sells hero. These are unlocked by, I believe this one is just a full clear. The champion one is if you do a 1 mask clear, and this one is if you do a 5 mask clear. Worth noting though, the weapons that they sell are unique equipped void touched items, which means that, let's say you're a Fury Warrior, you cannot use 2 of these 2-handers. If you're a Protection Warrior like myself, and I learned this kind of the hard way, you cannot use a 1-hander and a shield from this vendor, just one or the other, because they are unique equipped. Now the good news is that the mementos are transferable, so I don't know why you'd ever be short mementos, but if you do, they are warband transferable. These vendors, unfortunately, are not account-wide, though, so you will have to do the 1 mask or the 5 mask clear to unlock the vendors for each character that you play. Alright, so that's essentially the basics and the how-to of Orgrimmar. What I'll probably do is, maybe tomorrow, I will stream a Stormwind run, and on the Stormwind run, that's really hard to say, I will add that to the version of this video that goes to YouTube, just so that you can see both runs. Alright, so let's go back in. We're going to turn off the masks, because all I'm going to show you is, I want to show you where all the crystal spawns are, and where all the chest spawns are.
Driven mad by Nazoth's whispers,
So, let's go ahead and turn off these
the
masks,
disaster that only
which I'm sure that I will forget that I've turned off the next time I come in here.
Now all of Orgrimmar drinks the blood of Nazoth, twisting the Horde into a frenzied war machine.
Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and go in.
Stand before the Black Prince.
Now, since we're doing 0 masks here, we're gonna go ahead and just try to clear some of this area. There's the totem that I was talking about. You see it just yoinked me. But fortunately, AoE attacks won't hit it, but it doesn't have a whole lot of HP. So as long as you just do a quick focus down on it, it won't be a big deal. Oh yeah, I can also go over the buff NPCs. So let's go in here. One of our crystal spawns is right here. So we're going to click on that. Chests and crystals both are just mementos. So if you don't care about mementos, it doesn't matter. Just ignore them. Okay. There's also a spawn in here, which looks like we got lucky and it was our first 2 checks. So there'll be a spawn there. The chest spawns in this area are like super obvious, so I will point those out as we go through, but they should pretty much be kind of in your face anyway. So we got one here. One can also spawn over in this area. Okay, go ahead and clear that. So we don't have the blacksmith up, which would be in here. Not hard to kill. Does a frontal breath, but you can also kick it if you need to. But if you kill this guy in here, if he's up, he's going to give you a 10% damage buff. And then the one that is probably up will be over here. So you can see Barkeep Morag. Probably the most pointless one to kill in both visions, because all he does is give you 10% health. So nothing crazy from him. Okay, and then the crystal location is over. There's a chest location here, as you can see. So this chest here, and there's also one that spawns up here on this ledge. Those are the ones that are kind of annoying because you have to go out of your way and kill stuff that you would normally kill. This is where the other crystal spawn is. And then the final stop, once you've gotten all the crystals, is back here, and that is not a gatherable crystal. That's just a, you know, just for flavor. But once you get all the crystals, you actually don't get anything for the crystals unless you come over to this guy, speak to him at the end, and then he will walk over, or he'll walk over and he'll spawn a chest on this little pad that you'll loot for the extra mementos. So if we go up top, you can see we have our third and final chest. So remember, the starting area is going to have 3 of them. Each other zone will have 2 each. Okay. Kill this. So in the drag, let's go ahead and kill this guy. You can see things are a lot easier to kill when you're doing 0 masks. So if we come in here, there's a crystal spawn potentially back here behind this little bench. And you can see this ethereal portal will be clickable sometimes. If this is clickable, we can click it, and it's going to spawn this guy. And if we kill him, we're going to get another buff for 10% crit chance. So what this means at this point is that we have gotten the 2 buffs we're going to get from this run. So only 2 of them can spawn, and there are, I believe, 4 total options. I may amend that later. I'll have to remember. I am running on very little sleep right now, so don't hold it against me. Don't forget to talk to Garona, guys. Like I said in the first run. Don't forget. Can't do anything without her.
Let's search the drag for survivors. I'll conceal any we find while you keep the enemy at bay.
Okay.
There's a teleporter on another casualty.
We go in here. I believe it's... Is it this one? Or the... No, it's the next building, I think. Yeah, next building. Okay. Open this. A chest can spawn in this building. It'll be right over here.
I'll keep watch.
Okay, we go in here. We have a crystal spawn right here. Okay. Open this. Yay. Okay. Sorry. So then we have the leatherworking workshop over here. And this has a chest spawn in it, I believe. One of these does, I can't remember. And then finally, we have a chest spawn here, which obviously it's here. And then if we come over to here, I just realized that guy has a tire shield. That's pretty great. And then here's our last crystal spawn. And we have our last chest spawn right outside. Alright, let's go ahead and kill this guy. Okay. Come into our lost area, the Valley of the Honor.
We should be safe now.
You are but meat before Nasat's endless army. It is time to feast.
You can see on my over there on that little hill there, we do have our first crystal spawn, where there just happens to be a crystal this time. So right up here. Okay, we can have a chest over to our right, which you can see we do. There can also be one straight ahead up here in this area. So we're going to go ahead and kill this pack so we can get that chest. So yeah, there could be one over here as well.
I must get closer.
There's one tricky crystal spawn in this one, which can be right under here. There can be a crystal right here under this bridge. There can also be a crystal right here, which looks like there is one. Cool. There's a chest that can spawn here. I think that demolish was a bit overkill. Okay, and then as you can see, we have a chest spawn here. And then the last possible crystal spawn is going to be back here behind this second ridge. It'll be right over here. Now, since we're on a one mask, we have a bazillion sanity and stuff, we're just going to hard burst him. Yeah, so he didn't even get a cast off. Okay, we'll take our teleport back.
Champions, we've been needing your help.
Okay, even though technically we are in the corrupted area, there are no chests and no crystals that spawn in this like hallway kind of area. There is a toy that you can get in here. If you walk in, this guy will drop down and run off and give you a haircut. And then I don't remember where it is, but maybe I can't see it because I already have the toy. But there will be a toy that spawns in here that you can pick up that does the same effect. It gives you like this little like pixie cut kind of thing, which looks terrible on pretty much everyone. So now, I want to show you another quick strategy here. So, if you're fine with taking the throw damage, which is fairly minor, and in the interest of killing the boss as quickly as possible, I am going to show you a little bit of a cheese that you can use if you're like a caster or something like that, and you don't want to have to move a lot. Now, keep in mind, since we do have dark imagination, excuse me, the dark illusion or whatever madness that spawns the fear circle, this will be it's still not gonna hurt you because you can't move off of it. But what we can do is we can pull this guy, come over here, and jump on this basket. So he will still throw you. As you can see, there's the 30 sanity, but the leap follow-up does not hit you. And if you do get feared up here, it will not have you run off the basket. You will stay up here. So, yeah. All right, crystals. I did miss one crystal spawn already, but there is one in here to the left. There's a crystal spawn in here. Doesn't look like it's up, though. Well, that's just rude. I have spell reflect. Okay. Yeah. There's a possible chest spawn right here. I thought there was a crystal spawn up here. I'm not 100% sure if there is. There's a chest spawn over here, as you can see. There's also a chest spawn over there, as you can see, next to the pack that you would not normally pull. There are 2 chest spawns over here. One is over here. One is over here. So if we hadn't already gotten both of our chests, it could have been in one of those places. There's a crystal spawn right up here. And then there's a crystal spawn right up here.
Slay that monstrosity in the name of the
Now, fun fact, if you are using at least 3 masks, when you finish this zone, so once you've killed that final boss, that elevator gets unblocked. If you go up there and you kill some waves of Wind Rider cubs and eventually the Wind Rider matriarch, you can get a Wind Rider mount. You'll notice I'm not going into all of the mounts and stuff like that just because it's a lot and I'm not really interested in that kind of stuff, so I tend to focus on gameplay. Alright, in here. Chest spawn over here. There's a possibility for, I think his name's Buenba or something like that, can spawn here. He gives a 10% haste and movement speed buff. Possible chest spawn over here on that platform there. There is a crystal spawn over here. And I believe a chest can spawn up here. I'm not 100% sure on that. But as you can see, we do have a chest spawn over here as well. And then there is a crystal spawn possible up here at the top. Which it's not here, but it would be right here.
Too far away. I must get closer.
A chest can spawn up here. It's like over in this area. As you can see, there's a chest spawn there. There can be a crystal spawn in here.
But how can we ever be trusting the voices of the elements?
And there is a crystal spawn. Oops. There is a crystal spawn back here. Right behind this pole. Now, the chests, as soon as you loot them, you're good to go. The crystals, again, you need to come all the way over here to this guy. Okay. It's going to have I found X amount of crystals. And he'll also have an option for I'm still looking for more crystals if you don't want to turn it in yet. But, excuse me. But 10 is the max, so we're going to go ahead and turn it in. He's going to spawn our chest for us. We're going to loot our chest, and that's going to give us our bonus mementos.
The elements have spoken. Azeroth is doomed.
Vision exploration concluded. Initiating exit protocol.
Okay, we're going to loot all of our chests.
Fate for Orgrimmar, indeed. Take solace in the knowledge that should it ever come to pass, you shall be ready to rest.
Alright, that's pretty much it. So, I'm going to leave it there. Like I said, I will do a Stormwind run next week. So I will have that strategy with all the crystal locations and the chest locations, as well as a separate video for my 8 mask run when I do that. So, until then, thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time.